If you're someone who's passionate about transforming education, which you are if you're listening to this podcast, you should check out the Charles Koch Foundation. The Charles Koch Foundation supports social entrepreneurs and organizations that are embracing innovation to build better solutions for today's learners. Visit ckf.org to learn more. Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to EdUp on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. Dr. Joe Salustio back with you again. 300 and I don't know, probably closer to 400 episodes now than 300. We have recently crossed the 100,000 download threshold. We have returned from an international education conference. We have done lots. We've had our EdUp year in review released by The Evolution by Modern Campus in an article form. You can see all the things that have happened. It's absolute craziness, which is why I continue to bring you crazy guest co-hosts. And I have one with me again today. He asked to come back. For a while, I was access denied. And then he kept asking, and finally, access granted. So here he is, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Eric James Stevens, welcome back to co-hosting, Eric.
Joe, I'm really excited that access has been granted. I'm excited to be here today. Thank you.
Access granted.
You're welcome. Actually, Elvin was the one that was
access denied.
I was like, Eric wants to come back on.
Access denied.
I was like, Elvin, come on, get Eric back on. And so you're going to have to take it up with him. Okay, shout out to you, Elvin. We're excited to talk about EdTech today, are we not, Eric?
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is going to be exciting. I'm kind of like throwing everything I have right now, doing my own startup EdTech venture. And so I'm excited to.
You might as well plug it. You might as well plug it while you have the chance.
Well, I don't even know what it is. It's something in development, right? And that's why I'm really excited to be talking to our guest today, because there's so much that I want to learn, and I'm excited to be able to hear what our guest has to say about it.
Well, our guest today is international. He's said he's got a cup of coffee. It's 9 p.m. I don't know who does that. No, somebody that doesn't want to sleep, aka EdTech entrepreneurs. So here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Marnix Broer. He's co-founder of StuDocu, and he's in the Netherlands right now. Marnix, what's happening?
Hi, I'm Marnix. All good, thank you.
Hey, man. Welcome to the EdUp Experience podcast. Thank you for coming on so late at night. We appreciate it. And I'm sure you'd rather be doing something else like sleeping, for an example, or watching Netflix. Talk about StuDocu. What is it? What do you guys do?
Yeah, StuDocu, it's actually pretty simple in the basics. We offer a platform for students to collaborate and learn faster and better. And in very practical way, it's how to explain it. You have many students, of course, who want to study, and everybody wants most of the resources to be available to actually get good grades and get your diplomas. And what we offer is a platform where some students will share their knowledge, so their study guides, their lecture notes, and other students actually can go to the platform again to view those and use those lecture notes and study guides which have been shared. So it's all about marketplaces between students actually, and then at a very micro level, meaning that we enable you to view the documents and the resources written by other students from your own class. So it could be that you don't know the person, it could be that you know the person. In COVID times, maybe you don't see each other that much, but let's take a classroom of 250 people, then there's probably a few good note takers, and the other ones can make use of those.
Amazing.
So I literally explained this to me. So I'm sitting in a classroom with Eric, and I'm by far a better note taker than he is. Obviously. And so we finished the class, and now I can go on StuDocu and I can upload my notes from the lecture, and then Eric and all the other students can view my lecture notes.
Exactly.
Is that essentially? And then a student next semester might be able to view my lecture notes, and so on and so on. Do you build them?
No, indeed. It's exactly like this. And the nice thing is you get something in for return as well, of course. And Eric maybe also upload something for it in return. And in the end, everybody uploads a few, but you can make use of the millions of documents which have been shared already. So it's a give a little and take a lot. And in that principle, everybody can study much better and faster.
So what incentive do I have if Eric is coming in and he's really taking a lot, right? And he's looking at everybody's notes and he knows how to use StuDocu to his benefit. What's the incentive for me as a student to upload my notes? Is it goodwill and honor, or is it something else that I get in return?
It's a bit of both, but we work with a freemium model, meaning that most of the documents are freely available to anyone. So Eric can just use the platform without registration even, and just go use the knowledge which is available. But some documents, and which is 20% of the documents, those are labeled premium. So the 80% is free, but those 20%, they are premium. And if you want to access the premium documents, then you can either choose for a subscription, and then that will cost you not even $2 a month, or you can upload your own resources, and then you can also get access to all those premium documents. But what we do see though is that once people upload, we help them understand how helpful they actually were for other students. So we send them notification on how many upvotes you have, how many other students have used your document. And that actually encourages people to upload much more than they need to just get access. So they feel the good karma they get out of sharing their knowledge. And then they start even sharing more than that.
So when you say $2 a month, are we talking like 2 Michelob Ultras or 2 Guinness? What are we talking?
For me, it's difficult because I'm from Amsterdam. But here, so it's tough to say how expensive actually a beer in the US is, but I've been there twice and I thought the US is kind of more expensive than we have here in the Netherlands. But no, we ask $6 in the US per month, and here in the Netherlands that equates to €4, which wow. Beer is typically €3.50. So it's almost a bit more than just one beer.
That's really interesting, Eric. I'll pass it over to you because of course my notes will be in the 20% that you'd have to pay for. I don't know where your stuff.
No, and honestly, I mean, this is what I love because I mean, Joe, you're not that far off. I mean, I am not a good note taker. Like when I sit down in a conversation, I absorb what's going on in the classroom. And I have so much respect.
Neither am I. So
I have so much respect for note takers. And they've been a lifesaver for me. And I could see the value of this, like navigating my own undergraduate and graduate experience. And I think what's really interesting about this is that and I think congratulations on a couple things for, like I saw the other day, right? That you just passed, like it was 10 million documents uploaded, right? And you just got like this past year, you just got it was like 50 million in Series B. And so this is like, this is not like a little tiny thing, right? Like this is a functional marketplace that students are using actively.
Yeah. No, I'm really glad that we can help so many students and that people love it. Currently, I mean, we're still growing super fast, so that's really nice. And we're helping more and more students. But right now, we just crossed the bar at 26 million students a month.
That's insane. And I think it's such a really it's an interesting way to tap something that's already there, that's already happening, and just empowering it, like you said at the beginning of the conversation, right? So that you can empower students to learn faster and to learn better. And I think that's what is something that I've noticed in the past year and a half of I've been watching this EdTech scene a little bit more closely, is that higher education is going to change, and it's going to be educational technology and student need that drives that. And so here's my question for you. I'm just really like what have been some of those things, like those tangible things that you have seen, like I have been able to have an impact on the way that this functions, but then also like I can't imagine you're doing this without pushback. Like, so like, what are some of those big hurdles that you've faced in kind of overcoming that to help people see that this is a new way forward, not like just some kind of blip on the radar?
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, good question. So no, indeed. I mean, I think what I like is that we started this company during our own studies. So we felt the pain firsthand. And that's also where the idea came from. And that's also why I guess we understood so well what students really need and how we can really help them. And we actually launched it just as a project here in Amsterdam, or actually in Delft. That's the Delft Technical University where we studied. But later on, within just a few weeks, we saw that everybody in Delft was using it. And then You get some requests from friends from Amsterdam, from Leiden, Rotterdam, all cities here in the Netherlands. And you start the same for them. And boom, it explodes. Everybody starts using it. And after our graduation, we decide, okay, let's see whether we can actually help more students and see abroad what's going on there. And again, the same pain apparently is being felt not only here in the Netherlands, but it's actually everywhere. And that's also why we decided to then say, okay, let's change our goal here. Let's try to help actually every student out there in the world. And that's why we're also so busy with expanding to so many countries and more universities. But what I think so cool is that, and that makes me a bit proud now, is it's indeed the impact we have with such a small team. We're a bit more than 70 people here in Amsterdam. But helping more than 26 million students every month is quite insane.
That's incredible.
How many students you help with just one person. But what I really like is we now have a verb called StuDocuing it, or why don't you StuDocu it? That's the one on Urban Dictionary. And I thought that one was like pretty cool. That from now on, people are using the brand name to actually as a verb. And I think that's where you can really set a check mark, like, okay, we've done this, passed, and really nice.
Yeah, I think that's an accomplishment to make it into Urban Dictionary. I mean, that's
Definitely.
that is a check mark.
Right, because when it's like StuDocu me, you're right. StuDocu me, I'll StuDocu you. I mean that's it's the Facebook thing, right? You Facebook me, I Facebook you.
Yeah, you Facebook it. Yeah, no, indeed. Yeah, oh, really cool.
So you're.
Oh, and then sorry, Joe.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just trying to finish Eric's questions here about the struggles and the friction you have, and of course we see that as well. And you see the adoption of the platform luckily goes through the students itself, so it's from bottom up, right? But sometimes indeed you also see some friction from the other way around, where professors look at it like, what is this? What's going on? It's going too quick. It's a new platform. I don't know it. And I think most of the friction comes from sometimes technology can go so quick that you don't know how to adapt to it and how to follow it. And but yeah, like you said, EdTech is changing the world, and EdTech will be changing the world, and not just StuDocu, right? I mean, there's so many EdTech players out there. You're starting your own business. I think it's great. And that's so helpful for the students, but hopefully also for the professors. And that's what we're seeing now, I guess, in COVID times anyhow, but hopefully also in the future.
One of the knocks on sharing, just document sharing for college students, we interviewed CEO of Course Hero, and you have, there's some other ones out there that, it's faculty, administrators, students are cheating, they're getting the answers to these tests, whatever. If you think about it in a technology framework though, and take technology out, did students ever share notes? Probably. I did. Did students ever share answers to the test? I can remember, I'm sure you guys can too. So-and-so got suspended because he tried to steal the test answers from Miss So-and-so's desk, or at least that's happened in my grade school. And so answers, what one should I study on? That information sharing has always happened between students and forever will happen. All technology has done is increase the access at which you can access it, in other words. So what do you say to those detractors, Marnix, about, cheating and, sharing this and sharing that? Is it just a failure to understand that it's just technology on top of sharing that was going to happen anyway?
It feels a bit like that, right? But I do get their concerns though. I mean, nobody wants their students to cheat, right? And I'm not saying that cheating is right. And I also don't say that cheating is being done on StuDocu or other platforms. But of course, people do help each other. And it's more of the question, what is the definition of cheating? I think cheating is really, I don't know, falsifying your test in any other way, for example, but practicing more than you did before. I think that's only great. I mean, it helps you understand the knowledge. And I think that's also where education should come in. You should understand knowledge instead of memorize knowledge for 1 week, probably, right? Let's be honest, because after a week, you forgot half of the stuff you had to learn. So what is actually better is if the tests, for example, start moving from memorizing stuff into understanding stuff. And that's the part where it comes in. And then adopting to the new technologies. I mean, we also adopted to the calculator, right? We have that one for, I don't know, 30 years, 50 years, I don't know, quite long. And now you're allowed to bring your calculator to the test. I would say now times have changed. We have smartphones, we have information at our fingertips, literally. And there's so much information out there. We shouldn't memorize information anymore. No, we should try to adopt to the new way of working. And that is, there's an overload of information. So how to filter through it, how to combine it, how to understand it. And that will actually help educators now to educate the students, then who in the end is the goal, to get their jobs and get a good career. And I think that's also a funny thing. If you look at it, once you stepped out of college, let's say the old-fashioned college, I would call it, because I hope it changes, is that once you go to the working environment, you're actually being taught to indeed search for information, filter out the good facts, combine it, and then comprehend it and come with a solution. And don't do it alone, actually work together with your team. That's the whole idea. So I think actually universities and any other educator should also think about this. Okay, so eventually people have to filter through loads of information, combine it, understand it, and do it together. And then I'm trying to see, like, why are we not doing that yet at the universities who are actually trying to teach us, to prepare us for the working environment? And I think that's a gap which has become bigger and bigger, but I hope actually being pushed maybe by COVID, so maybe there are some bright side to COVID, that actually the educators now also adapt to more technologies and more EdTech companies, softwares, whatever is out there, to make sure that actually the gap between education and working life is not so big anymore.
Too many learners are being left behind by the current one-size-fits-all model of education. We here at EdUp and our friends at the Charles Koch Foundation see a better path forward. The Charles Koch Foundation supports innovators in education who are building and scaling new pathways to allow all learners to discover their potential. By changing the way we think about education, we can unlock opportunities for millions more Americans. To learn more about the Charles Koch Foundation support of individualized education, visit ckf.org. You know, Eric, I'm going to pass it to you, but I'm going to, you said two things, Marnix. One, technology adoption, and I'm going to admit that apparently I have not set up my personal podcasting technology correctly, which is why you guys are giving me funny looks. Now I have done it appropriately.
Amazing.
In all these buttons work. I didn't think they were working the right way before. So we all have problems with technology adoption. But one of the things that, before I pass it to you, Eric, one of the things I want to say is the point you make about what we are being asked to do in the world of work, which is collaborate. And we use Google Docs, and we use Microsoft Teams, and we use Zoom, and we share and share and share and share. In fact, we invest in millions of dollars of technology to share at the professional level. And at the student level, there's questions about whether it's ethical to share. It is what I think the mic drop moment of the episode is. Over to you, Eric. See, now it's working.
There we go. Yeah. And I love Marnix, what you said earlier about and something that I agree with, that we have, it's a completely different problem that we have now when it comes to obtaining knowledge and understand, like being able to say, I know what this is. Because before, I think previous to technology, it was having to go out and find the information. Like it exists somewhere, you need to go find it. Now it's a completely different monster. It's a completely different approach, because all of the information is just being thrown at you, right?
Yeah.
And so now it becomes a process of filtering. And I think, and there's like the thing
research, right? Learning how to research.
Yeah, it's learning, and it's something that just has always baffled me, right? Like on academic Twitter that exists out there, is that we have like these researchers, right, who go on their academic networks and they ask questions. Like they're like, hey, does anybody have any good notes on this reading? So like the academics are doing the thing that you are empowering their students to do, but then professors kind of complain about it on the back end, right?
Yeah.
And it's just it's so interesting to me that this is a manifestation of like the way we have learned, the way we learn is completely changed. And something that I think that not enough universities are realizing, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, right? As a student-driven company, is the importance of the student need, the student voice in the building of all of these products. I think the advantage that you have in the building of your product was that you were your own end user. Like you knew what you needed out of it, and you were students. What is your message of for someone like me who's trying to build a company, or for the university who's trying to adapt to these different changes? How do you think that they should be approaching their students as collaborators even?
Yeah, we grew out of sort of a demand which was there, and also things which was being done, like Joe just explained, right? So it's endless. This goes back hundreds of years, and education also feels like it's never changed in the thousands of years in the past. But we should actually adapt, because I remember actually, now that you told your story, I felt like, oh wow, I had classes, I think maybe in high school, so secondary school, where I was being taught to go to the library and search for information. And it made perfect sense back then, right? Because then maybe there was the CD-ROMs from Encyclopedia, for example. So there was no Wikipedia yet. So then it made sense that you had to learn how to search for information. But now we should not learn anymore about how to search for it or how to memorize it. Now we should combine it. So I think that's great. You do see it with the educators itself. And it makes total sense, because they also want to give good lectures, right? So they want to have information in how to give good lectures, they look at other lectures and they look at other materials, like how can I prepare well for my lecture? So also for them, it makes total sense to share. And I think they are doing it actually. You also need a platform for that. So I think hopefully, and we're also busy with it, by the way, but hopefully there's maybe even startups or other EdTechs around already to help the educators as well to share and collaborate there. Because also for them, it makes total sense to share knowledge, because it feels otherwise you're reinventing the wheel all the time.
Eric, let me interrupt you guys and ask you real fast, but I'll ask both of you, does everything you guys are saying right here, because we're talking about faculty and we're talking about faculty looking at, the document sharing negatively. Is it the administration's responsibility to improve faculty development then? And it's not necessarily the faculty, because that's what they know, right? They know and they go, okay, wait a second, people are sharing this stuff, and what do I do? Rather than, administration coming in and saying, hey, look, this is what technology looks like out there. Let's provide you with the tools you need to elevate your teaching. Is that a part of this too?
I think so. It could definitely help. But for most products, eventually it is just a product which is being developed by someone listening to the demands of the end user. So in this case, I would say the educator is the end user in this case, if that's the collaborative and sharing platform for educators. So then there should be someone to help them and facilitate their needs on that platform. So then it might be difficult to get that out of a faculty level. But they could also give it a try, of course. They also see what their educators want, and they could adapt to that. It's definitely a way.
What do you think, Eric? What do you think to that? Because you're in instructional design and all that.
Yeah, as someone who, I was coming in from the student angle, I did the faculty angle, a little bit of the staff angle. I look at that question, and I think, to Marnix's point, we have to understand, what are students doing? What are they doing already? And then seeing what technologies exist that are out there, and I think that it's kind of on administration to help faculty bridge that need for students. Because I think, and I say this as a faculty member who has felt this, that I like teaching the way that I teach. It's the way that I teach. There's a reason I teach that way. It's because I like it. And to have something else be introduced, here's another piece of technology that I need to use. Here's this newfangled things. It's just here's another thing. They're already burnt out. Faculty are. I think that it's on the administration to show faculty that this is also benefits them. like make sure, like you can make sure that the lectures provided to your students are vetted by you as well. Like you can, like, how can you as a faculty member use this to your advantage so that your students can be better prepared? Because they're already doing this. Why not empower everybody just to be kind of thinking a little bit more streamlined? I can't not see admin administration playing a role in saying, like, and kind of biting the bullet and saying, hey, we need to embrace this innovation here, because what we're doing right now is just isn't cutting it. And it's either this or do we close?
Wow.
Yeah,
maybe
and
not that
luckily
drastic again, but
but luckily you do see that there's also a wide audience who is adapting actually to this. So I think that's really nice to see. And you also have a lot of professors using StuDocu, for example, and also just to gain insights on how other professors work. And I think that's also where it is for. It's open for everybody, and that's with a reason.
You know, Marnix, you talked about growth, and Eric brought up some of your numbers, your Series B and all that. Where do you go from here? What's the 3 to 5 year plan?
Well, we're, like I said, we're over the 25 million, right? So but in the end, there's more than 250 million students out there in the world, and growing. So we're just at 10%. So in that sense, I can keep on launching the platform, let's say, and open it for more and more students everywhere. So that's definitely part of the plan. But on top of that, yeah, we also want to help people more in more ways than in the current way we're just doing now. So we're also looking whether we can have people, and the students in this case, chat much more with each other, because I also remember from my old days that when you're studying and you don't understand something, and yeah, you can't just WhatsApp or text your professor. So you need somebody to actually explain it then to you. But what I always did is actually try to find a classmate somewhere in the library who has had 15 minutes for me, or I would buy them a coffee and then have it explained to me, and also the other way around. But I think, again, this one can be done on a platform. And here, instead of leveraging just a few people, actually leverage the millions of students who are out there. And then probably you will get an answer much quicker, but you might also get multiple answers, because that is also super helpful. And maybe that ties in also a bit with the previous questions, is it's not only sharing goes easier and quicker, but also let's remember that it's very good for a person to get multiple views on one topic. If you only get one view beamed towards you, then you will start learning that view, while in fact it's much better to actually get 5 or 20, who knows, views on a certain piece of text or paper or subject. And in that sense, you can comprehend it much better and get a better view of the total world.
Eric, I want to.
But so that's for the plans. Sorry, Joe.
No, that's okay. I like that. I want to pass back to you, Eric, because I interrupted your last line of questioning, and see if you have any more questions, or else I can keep going and just keep drilling Marnix left and right.
No, I'm like, this is a really interesting question for me, about where are you going from here? And like it sounds like this, like a peer-to-peer tutoring kind of feel. Like, is that kind of like where you want to go and like develop it? Because like the problem that I face, right, as someone who's like brand new and doing this, like I have my product, my MVP can like, oh, I could do this, or I could do this, or I could do this. I was like, no, I need to like pare down. I need to focus on the thing that's right in front of me and make sure that works beautifully. And it seems like you've got that thing that works beautifully now, and that you can kind of get out there and start expanding. And so like, just like, as I guess this is my question, just like as an entrepreneur, someone who has set out to like get a company with funding that like at this level, what advice would you give to someone who is like me, like just like getting ready to start it out and just kind of do that same thing? Because I love the idea of having to build something that big.
Yeah, no, Eric, to be really honest, I think the focus part is key. So even, I mean, like you said, I have now maybe the time to start diversifying, but even that scares me a little bit, because for the past 10 years, I've been focusing on one thing, which I think we're really good at. And it also makes you excel above other companies, because in one hand, of course, we're here with the aim to help as many students as we can. And on the second part, you also want to build a good and healthy company. So if we look at that part as an entrepreneur, doesn't matter whether you're in EdTech or not, focus is just very key, because when focusing, it enables someone to become better than the rest, and become better at something, and therefore excel, and therefore let the company grow much faster than any other one could do. But if you be tempted too quick, and it happens every year, every month, maybe you get inbound mail like, hey, maybe we should do a partnership or collaborate on this, or have you ever thought, or whether you talk to your father or your friend or your neighbor, doesn't matter, they always pitch an extra idea to tie into the student base you're already serving. You feel like, yeah, that's true, but it will cost me time, it will distract me from the one thing I'm really good at, apparently so far. So why would I? Because it can actually be the death sentence for your company by actually focusing on too many things. So even now, with indeed a Series D, after 10 years of doing just sort of, let's say, one thing, even then, I would say be very careful before you start diversifying your focus into multiple things.
I love that. No, thank you. Thank you.
Good advice. Good advice for anybody trying to do anything, to grow anything. I mean, really, it is, right? It's easy to just go. It's easy to be a shotgun versus a rifle, right? That old saying. It's easy to lose focus, and especially now with everything we have going on around us, it's very hard to stay focused in general. What did we miss about what did we miss about StuDocu, Marnix, that you want to say? Anything you want to plug? Anything you want to say about your organization? We always give the same two questions to every guest. So what did we miss about your organization? And lastly, what do you see as the future of higher education?
Okay, so what do you miss about StuDocu? I think, well, I hope a lot of students are also listening, but I think, let's say students and educators are listening. So that's really my audience. I think just go visit it, experience how easy it is to browse around and get the knowledge you exactly need. So only for your class at your university. And for educators, also give it a try, and actually to them, I would say explore. So not just your class, because then you will find your own notes. That's not really helpful. You know that, you taught it. But actually browse around in other courses, similar named around there in the US, but maybe even, I mean, we're global, right? So go to Australia, go to Dutch universities. We also speak English, so you can use everything. So that's great. Yeah, and then in terms of future, where's education going? It's always tough to give a vision there, I guess. But what I do see now, and that's also a struggle, I guess, for any tech company, so not per se EdTech, is, for example, engineers. And I'm saying this because what you then do, what you actually see what employers do, is they don't focus too much anymore on the education. They just test the person who applies for the engineering role, so the developer role, and say, okay, you can code well, great, you're hired, go work with me and build this awesome product. It means that we're actually going, it seems like, a skill-based society, and not per se that the paper you get at the end of the 5-year studies society, because that was in the past where you said, you're from Harvard, awesome. But actually now, you can code super well, super nice. But I think this will happen to more skills than just coding, and this is more and more to come. And yeah, with open education and getting your diplomas, or sort of small diplomas there, specifically on the needs you want as an employer, that will be the future.
Yeah, I think you said it at the beginning of the episode: faster and better, right? How you deliver higher education faster so that it's meaningful to the student and gives them what they need, and secondarily to that, better, the quality is maintained, but then it has workplace application. You said it right. It's the crux of our time, higher ed, and on how to meet the student where they are, because the student is moving fast. Oh boy, as fast as the internet moves. That's how fast higher ed needs to move. If we can. Thank you so much first of all, thank you so much for coming on, guest host, Dr. Eric James Stevens.
Yeah, thanks for having me again, Joe and Elvin. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Elvin, sorry, man. Sorry to call you out, but yeah, you could take it up with him, Eric.
Oh yeah, there's gonna be an email.
And then of course, our guest today, Marnix Broer. He's co-founder of StuDocu. He's in the Netherlands. He's gonna go to sleep even after that coffee. Marnix, thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you've just EdUp'd. The purpose of education is to help learners discover their aptitudes and interests, develop their skills, and then deploy that knowledge to benefit themselves and others. The Charles Koch Foundation, a nonprofit grant-making organization, works with leaders in education to remove barriers that stand in the way of all learners reaching their potential. They support individualized and flexible models that improve access and quality for millions of Americans. They also support apprenticeship and upskilling programs that connect learners to in-demand jobs that match their skills and interests. The foundation is looking for new partners to challenge the status quo and transform the post-secondary education system. Learn more about their partnership opportunities and apply for a grant at ckf.org. You can also find them on Twitter at C Koch Foundation and LinkedIn by searching Charles Koch Foundation.